Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here on the 15th of April, 2020. And there are many, many, many wrestling bits of news that are out and about. News still coming in, so probably more updates on this tomorrow. I wanted to get a quick audio out to everybody as the news was breaking. Obviously, Wrestling Observer, Pro Wrestling Torch, PW Insider, and everywhere else covering this. I want to cover it too. Several talents, approximately 25 as of the recording of this, both agents as well as wrestling talents released by World Wrestling Entertainment due to restructuring in response to the financial hardships associated with the COVID virus. We'll get into in a minute how I feel about that and how it actually ties in with a series of audios that I released earlier today called "Is Vince McMahon a Narcissist?" And it's not going to be a popular stance, but I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to make a difference. And so with that in mind, I just want to put out there my concerns and considerations to those who were released today if they weren't expecting it. Having talked to a couple of people and friends of mine that are in the industry as a result of this, and a couple of people said to me, well, many of these people probably wanted to get released anyway and weren't getting released because of the fear of them jumping to AEW or RH or New Japan or wherever have you, and that's probably true. But in the event there are any persons that are unexpectedly released today, obviously concerns and considerations go out to them. It is my hope that they find employment inside or outside the industry as quick as possible for their benefit. Let's just run down a list of people that have been released as of this moment. I will use their character names, not their legal names, in respect to giving this information, because if you want their legal names, it's out there anyway. But, obviously using them as character names is how most of the public knows them anyway. Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, EC3, Leo Rush, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Kurt Angle. Big surprise there that Kurt, I didn't even know Kurt was still involved with the company, so big surprise that that was the case. Sarah Logan, referee Mike Shikota, Eric Rowan, Primo, Epico, Mike Kanellis, Maria Kanellis, Zack Ryder, and No Way Jose. Furthermore, Angle, who's been working behind the scenes, was included in the list of releases announced by WWE, and Aiden English had been working as a commentator for it, the 205 Live program. PWI Insider has also released the names of several producers that have been released or put on furlough until further notice. These names include Billy Kidman, Mike Rotundo, Dave Finley, Pat Buck, Sean Devari, Scott Armstrong, Sarah Stark, Shane Helms, and Lance Storm. They have either been released or put on furlough for the time being. So that's about 25 or so names in total. We can go through each name at another time, and there is no reason to do that right now. But you can see a very diverse number of talents that have been laid off, many of whom I'm sure will be brought back when the economy brightens up, although how many of those that will be brought back, I do not know. Some of them, as has been mentioned to me, probably thrilled to be let go. Many were dissatisfied with their time in WWE anyway, but it does raise a few questions to me. One of the questions I have is why all of the talents that were released were part of the main roster, one of the three main roster brands. To me, I'm thinking, wouldn't it have made more sense to get rid of folks who were in developmental, who were closer to the workforce anyway? People who might have just quit their job 6 months or a year ago. The argument, I suppose, could be made that if you get rid of people that haven't had an opportunity to be on main roster yet, you're leaving money on the table, but My argument, if I'm running the company and I'm thinking in this moment as someone who's running a company, I'd rather reward the people that have stayed with me thus far than to hurt those who've been with me and have done nothing to require being released. In a traditional ethical company, the last hired, first fired rule would apply here. Secondarily, there's something like 30 or 40 writers on the writing staff, most of whom get rather large salaries, to my understanding, large, of course, being a relative thought. Why in the blue hell have they not been let go versus in-ring talent who sacrifice their bodies, time with their families, and other such things? Injuries are possible, whereas it's harder for them to get a job at Target or your local Walmart than it would be for a writer who probably had a regular job before coming into working for WWE. Many of the talents will have to take several months now if they choose to find traditional jobs outside of the sports entertainment / pro wrestling sector. Obviously, many of these gentlemen and a few ladies that were included are going to be okay. They are going to be more than okay because there are many places to work once everyone gets back to work in the next few months. But it does beg the question, though, what kind of company do you work for that would let people go en masse in the middle of the biggest crisis in the last 100 years? Why not say, we're going to sit you home with no pay for a couple of months? We'll pay you back on your downside guarantee when things get better. Why not say, we'll dip into the literally millions or billions of dollars that the television rights fees have given us? Heck, since the McMahon family is one of the richest families in the world, why not say, we'll cover you because we believe in you as people? All of these are options that WWE as a company did not take. And it makes me really wonder about the morality of those involved with the company. Now, obviously, needing to trim the fat is there. But couldn't we just eliminate pyro from programming for a while? Couldn't we just maybe have a few less house show events, thereby cutting down on arena costs and other things? Couldn't we just have a company-sponsored GoFundMe to cover the cost of some contracts for talents that don't deserve to be let go? Do we not believe that in a world full of compassionate people who are influenced by these individuals who are stars in the eyes of the masses who want to be like them, that we couldn't find some money to support the stars that we would miss if they were let go? Couldn't we just have a long-range plan of 2 to 5 years to recover the losses that it would take for the company to have paid out on these contracts? Couldn't it have been that perhaps asking the people involved who wanted to be let go and addressing those issues first and then letting go of people en masse? And after all, if WWE is a supposed, quote, essential business, quote, then doesn't that mean that they're employees by default, or actually independent contractors? Let us not call them employees for fear that Vince McMahon will pop a blood vessel. Wouldn't it make sense that these independent contractors are more important than ever before in a world that needs entertainment? See, the problem with the logic of these layoffs is they don't make sense. Economic sense, sure. But what about the human sense? What does it say that one of the richest people in the world goes and cowers in a corner and affects the lives of tens of dozens of people? Because he didn't just lay off 25 people today. He also affected all of their families and all of their children. So it's safe to say that 100 people at least got affected today. All because a rich individual who had the ability to continue the contracts at least for another month or two, let's be realistic, even if they weren't continued indefinitely, he could have ridden through the pandemic. He could have said, okay, I'll cover you during this hardship while I'll give you time to find something else. I'll work with you. I'll send my executives to work with you to find work in Japan or with independents or something. Thus supporting their families through this difficulty. A company that's been around for nearly 40 years, you would think there would be a system to protect the needs of the people who sacrificed their lives to build it. But no, not in the WWE. Not in a place where dreams come true, but only if the management seems to believe that your dream is worthy of pursuing. Not in a place where, at the end of the day, you're expendable from the day you walk in the door to the day you walk out it. Now, most of these talents are going to be perfectly fine. They're going to rebalance, redefine, and reinvent themselves. But where I'm worried is, what about the talents who weren't ready to come off the road, who don't have plans for the future, who don't have outside investments, and who right now are looking at their dream dying as well as their bank account? What for them? What resources have been granted them, if any? And how are they to rebuild their lives? Now, I never made it to a national level in the pro wrestling industry. I'm a nobody in that world, but I was there at the independent level for a dozen years. I know how much the men and women who pursue this sport really give everything to it. And I know what it is to wake up and watch as people don't get booked. To wake up and watch as people get frustrated because they don't get that opportunity to perform any longer. And there's an emotional crash that comes with that, and anybody who says that doesn't exist is lying to themselves. What resources have been given to the talents to combat that emotional crash? What are the talents set to do or given to do after this? Now, they're going to go to the independents when they reopen, but that could be 6 months from now. What do they do for the next 6 months? What do they do for the next year? And again, if this is an essential business and the government is providing stimulus, do we not think that the McMahon family that's been in bed with Trump to the point where Linda was, in fact, the director of the Small Business Administration, couldn't get pushed to the front of the line to get some of that stimulus money, some of which is going to be in the what, billions of dollars? Come on now. So you're telling me that a person who has worked with Donald Trump since the 80s couldn't make a phone call to make sure that these employees were taken care of? Huh. Hardly. So at some level, there reeks another megalomaniacal, narcissistic tendency here, that those in charge at WWE got to play God or Goddess today. That they got to decide who deserves to stay and play in the sandbox and who gets sent home. And the saddest part of it all is that most of the talents on the way out the door are kissing the tail of the very boss who didn't care enough about them to make alternative plans for them. Why? Because they hope to go back. Because they hope to have one more shot somewhere down the road. And that's emotional prostitution. And I feel badly for any talent who has the need, the desire, or the compulsion to do that. Now, I realize that everyone has free will choice, and I realize that those who are elite, no pun intended, WWE defenders are going to jump down my throat, and to which I say, people, wake up. One of the things that's being exposed during this pandemic is that there are people who are cold and ill-tempered and ill-mannered and ill-intended, and there are people that are warm. Now, each one of those 25 talents, some of whom have been around for decades, has the skills, abilities, and talents to land on their feet. And that's not what we're raising here. We're raising the question of, should they have to? They work for one of the richest companies in the world. They work for a global juggernaut. Heck, they work for an entity backed by the Fox company that could make all these debts go away for all of these gentlemen and ladies. But instead, these individuals are on the unemployment line because certain people care more about their profit margins than they do about the people that work for them. And yes, I'm fired up. And yes, I'm angry on behalf of the thing for the people because they can't say or shouldn't say or most likely won't say that they're thinking this. And of course, they're going to do the politically correct thing and say that their time with WWE was great and that they understand. But really? Do these men and women who have to go home to their families and say daddy's out of work, mommy's out of work, really believe that? Or are they forced to swallow it because if they don't say WWE did wrong to me, or if they do say WWE did wrong to me, they run the risk of never going back? See, there's a lot of things people don't understand. I hear that it's better now than it used to be, that there's the ability for financial advisors to be offered to talent. And I assume there's mental health care available to talent should they desire it. But let me ask you something. A month from now, 2 months from now, who from the office is going to be calling these gentlemen and ladies and saying, are you mentally okay? Who's going to be saying to them, let's get you back in the workforce? Who's going to be saying to them, we'll help you get skills to get back out there? Because you've given your life for this company, you've given your effort for this company, and we believe in you still. But you better damn well believe that if any of these talents that were released today were selling enough T-shirts, selling enough tickets, selling enough network buys, that they'd be employed and someone else would be in their role. And that's why I'm outraged. It's because the structure of the largest company in the industry is flawed. Instead of saying we are a team and together we fight, instead of saying we are a unit and together we journey forward, instead of saying, you know what, I've been blessed from the standpoint of Vince McMahon and Paul Levesque and the executives of WWE, we've been blessed. We're multi-millionaires. We have billions of dollars worth of stock. Let us invest in you because you helped us build this thing. Instead, we say, oh, time to financially restructure. As if the company is more important than human lives. It's sickening. And it's unconscionable. And every time you put down your money to support a WWE product, you say that that's okay. You say that it's okay to send someone home not knowing how they're going to support their family in the efforts to make sure that the stockholders are happy. And I don't think that's what anybody means to say. And there will be those that are going to bash me as a person, and go ahead, I don't care. WWE could have been a leader. They could have been a trend center in the entertainment industry, but instead, they showed to be greedy. They showed to be selfish. They showed to be uncaring and uncouth. And so here's what I'm going to do. To any talent who is released, no, let's go one step further. To any talent in the industry, no matter what company you work for, if you fear being released because of the pandemic, I will give you free coaching services. Not because you're famous, but because I've been part of that industry and I understand the psychology of it and I understand how hard it can be. I care less about your fame. Who cares? You pee like everybody else does. But at the end of the day, I hope you ultimately find peace in or outside the industry, whatever's best for you and your family. I don't want to be a part of that. Because the pro wrestling industry saved my life as a teenager. And so now I want to give back to it. This is a way I can give back. Please feel free to get in touch with me at PO Perception on Twitter. Please feel free to direct message me here on YouTube. I'm not going to give my private email for fear that people will use it inappropriately, but I will give that to people who reach out in PM if they prove that they have legitimate merit. But in any event, anyone in the pro wrestling industry affected by the COVID virus, I'm here for you. We'll figure it out. I'll do what the large companies refuse to do. Why? Because you're worth it. This has been Scott Golden with Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel, reminding you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.